What up, everybody? How y'all doing? So, we got some stuff we got to get handled. The RS1, Ashley's RS1. This thing sitting crooked. Notice how it's leaning? It's because I think both of these right shocks are blown. So, I'm just gonna do them all. I've got 4 seal kits here. Let me get the Turbo S backed out. Look how slick this thing looks. Let me get this thing back down and get the RS1 pulled over in here and start tearing it down. Freaking awesome day outside. That should be good. All right, so the first things first, we're gonna get this thing jacked up and take these front shocks off. Another thing I'm going to do while I'm in here is I'm going to actually go in and take out this front bracket from HCR, and I'm going to do some modifying to it because I actually don't like having the shocks pushed out so far on the bracket. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that mount, we're going to bring it in just a little bit closer to that stock one right there, okay? All right, so we got this thing sitting on a couple jack stands. So far, so good. We got the jacks. We got the shocks out, and we got the bracket out. So here's the bracket. This is what it comes as stock, and this is what we're gonna modify it into. We just bring the bolt hole a little bit closer to stock. We run big tires on this thing, so we don't need a crazy amount of lift out of the shock tower. So what we're gonna do is just start cutting on this and get ourselves situated so we can put our bolt holes in it. All right, well, we went ahead and we made our adjustments. Now all we got to do is put the bracket back on and start working on these shocks. Got the bracket in place. We didn't tighten anything down. We just leave it loose so that way we can put the shocks in there when we're finished. Get those things mounted up pretty easily. You start clamping everything down, it makes putting the shocks in kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. So first things first, when taking these things apart, you're gonna have to take the springs off first. Oop, getting a phone call. So the way you do this is by just backing this preload collar all the way up, giving yourself enough room, and then you'll be able to push up on this bottom piece and release a spring. So now that we got these things cleaned up, well, sorry, not cleaned up, but now that we got the springs taken off of them, we'll go ahead and get them cleaned up, and then we'll get them set up in the vise so that way we can start draining the oil out of these things and get all the seals replaced. So here's a set of Turbo S front springs that I actually had sitting around. They measure freaking super similar to the RS1 front shocks. However, the diameter of the spring is just a little bit thicker, a little bit beefier. So we're gonna go ahead and the tender spring's definitely a little bit beefier. So we're just gonna swap the whole assembly out, see how it handles it. So we went ahead and we bled off our Schrader valve. We got it sitting right there. That comes as a replacement piece in the kit. So don't lose it, but it can be discarded of when you put the new one in. So now what we're gonna do is just push down on this a little bit, get that out of the way, and we're gonna expose this snap ring. And we just gotta get our snap ring pliers and take that out. Well, now that we got that out, we can go ahead and unthread this shock body and then pull the shaft out. And sorry about the mess, guys. It's freaking cluttered in here. I've got so much stuff going on, and we gotta get this stuff done. We've gone ahead and we pulled the shaft. You can see the little bit of fluid left in there. This is it sitting right here. I went and set it on a nice clean towel so that way we don't get anything dirty. All right, so this tool here is just called an IFP, or an internal floating piston tool. Basically what this does is it helps us pull this floating piston out from inside of this canister. So what you do is you take it in here and you thread it on. And once you thread it on there, then you have the ability to just lift up and pull it out. All right, well, we went ahead and we pulled off the nut. We pulled off all the shims and that little spacer. Now all we got to do is pull off the seal head here and then replace the seals. Okay, so just as my luck, you know, That's a 2.0 shock, and I ordered seals for 2.5s. So let's flash forward a few days because I just had to get on here and order all the good stuff, which basically means I had to order all the correct parts. So we'll finish up this video when that stuff shows up. All right, y'all. So we got a little bit of oil here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna change out this seal first. We already went ahead and pulled it off. We're gonna put the brown one on there, and then we've gone ahead and split up the two kits. And then once we get this seal done, we got a couple other O-rings we're gonna swap out. All right, so we've got the seal head here. I'm gonna pull this little O-ring off. And this is one of the smaller O-rings, so. Just float that down there. This is our seal cap. It's getting cold in here. And this is one of the thicker seals. We have one of those right here. So now what we'll do is we'll move on to installing our seals and whatnot on the inside of here. Okay, so we're gonna install this one first. Now this one has like an indention on the back. It has a little lip right here. If you look at this, this here is the face, the bottom of it. The indention side is going to be facing up in there. So it'll be like so. And then you have to just maneuver it in there. But you're gonna have to lubricate this thing before you do that. Use your finger to get it into place. Now, the next piece is gonna be the wiper. Okay, so I'm just gonna put some lubrication on this as well. Okay, now once I got that in there, just work it all around with your fingers. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then that's what you get. Sorry about the camera quality and the hair, but that's what you got. The problem about, you know, filming and doing all this stuff yourself, you know, sometimes it's just gotta do stuff on the ground. Now we still have an O-ring in here, and so I'm just gonna lubricate this up, and then we'll put that in. So we got the O-ring sitting right in there too. And that means that this piece is done. This piece is done, and this piece is done. So basically, we can start reassembling. All right, so right here we have what's called a shaft bullet, and basically this thing goes on here, and then you use it to slide on the shaft head or the seal head, so that way the seals don't get messed up when you come past this lip. So let's see if I can do this all. So basically I just started sliding that thing on there. It's got a conical shape. It's gonna make its way through. So give it a little wiggle, and then really fast. Damn it. Well, that didn't work. I gotta use two hands to do this. Okay, sorry I couldn't show you that, but you gotta use two hands, and you've gotta kind of like just, boop, just pop it down there. If you don't, it's gonna catch on this little lip. So that's what this little bullet's for, but you know, sometimes it can still get caught. Go ahead and reinstall all your shims and everything. So now we've gone ahead and mounted up the shock body. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fill this thing up. So it's about a little over halfway, and then what we'll do is we'll set the IFP in after we get that finished. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've put fluid in here. We've gone ahead and we've taken the bleed screw out of our IFP, which is the internal floating piston. This thing has a little O-ring on it, so make sure you swap that out. There's one that provided in your kit. We went ahead and already did that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this back into the canister. And this is gonna go in here just like so. Okay, so we went ahead and we got our IFP in there, just to where it's got a little bit of fluid on the top of it. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our internal floating piston tool, we're gonna thread it onto the top, and then we're gonna stroke this thing and get all the air out. Don't forget to put in your little bleed screw in there. You're gonna wanna make sure that that's in there. So here's the tool. We've got this on here. We're gonna push this thing all the way down to the bottom and push all the air out over onto this side. And then we're gonna come back up an inch, come back down, come back up an inch, come back down. And then we're gonna slowly draw this thing back up right to about here. And just be cautious. You don't wanna pull any air back through this thing. So make sure you got enough fluid in here. Okay, so now we got our shock oil in here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the valve, we're gonna put the valve in first, we're gonna bury it down to about an inch or two, just underneath that fluid. We're just gonna kind of fluctuate it up and down to get any of the air out from underneath the valve. Now I know it's gonna seem like I may have skipped ahead a little bit. Basically, what you do is you sink that valve in, you're gonna stroke it up and down a couple of times, you'll see the air coming out of the valve. Once you finish getting most of the air out, you're gonna take your mallet, you're gonna tap this a couple times. Don't get too crazy. You might blow this thing out. You want to make sure that you're getting all the air out of this valve from underneath it, right? Once you're done, you're going to bring the head down to greet the body. And then once you start to thread it on, you're going to bring the shaft up and make sure that the valve is right beneath the head as you screw it together. And that's going to purge all the fluid up to the tip right as you start to thread it on, making it overflow a little bit, but it's gonna get all the air out. So we went ahead and we pulled out our bleed screw. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this IFP down to 2.875 inches. All right, so after you've gone ahead and got rid, is this thing gonna focus? So after you've gone ahead and put some grease on your bleed screw, because after you set the internal floating piston to 2.875, then you gotta put this back. So now we'll see if we can do this with one hand. I feel it snugging up. Bam. We are good to go. So now that we got that in there, we can go ahead and take this shock out and dump out all the fluid. Freaking sweet. So now we're gonna take the cap. I'm gonna slide the cap in here. Once we get that down in place, then we'll be able to go ahead and put our snap ring in place. So I'll get that installed. And once you got that all situated, you're gonna go ahead and reinstall your valve stem core, and then you're gonna pressurize this thing to 150 PSI with nitrogen, of course. And just like that, after you get this thing charged up, you're ready to throw the springs back on and away you go. Not freaking too bad of a job. Pretty simple, a little tedious. Got to buy a couple tools, but once you get everything lined up and squared away, she works golden. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to share this stuff with your friends. If you guys are interested in becoming a supporter of the page, make sure to go check out the main page, and you can click the is it supporter button, subscriber button now? I think they're changing everything up on me all the freaking time over here. So either way, guys, love y'all. We'll see you guys next time. Later.